Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen.
My big question for this week came to me when I was at the park with the kids, and it was really disgusting. This was actually up in Connecticut. We were at Chrissy's cousin's house, and there was a park down the street, and there was just trash everywhere. And I realized my big question for this week is, what is your biggest pet peeve? And mine is litter. I'm sure at some point I'll be like, no, that's my biggest pet peeve. But litter really pisses me off. And the kids, ever since they were walking and we go to parks and stuff, like they know their psycho dad picks up trash in the park and throws it in the garbage can. And I remember hearing about an interview with David Sedaris where he says that he spends 8 to 10 hours a day, like 5 days a week, cleaning up garbage on like public, highways and stuff. So that is my biggest pet peeve.
Did you know when David Sedaris was a kid, his family was really messy, and when he was like 14 years old or something, he saved up to buy a vacuum cleaner. That's how bad, no, for real, that's a true story. That's how bad his folks' house was, that he was so dirty and disgusting that he took his teenage money and bought a vacuum cleaner.
All right, so my I have a pet peeve and I have an annoyance. I'll start with the annoyance. And I've gotten clearance from my better half to state this publicly.
You're dead, man.
My wife snores. She snores badly, really badly. And I someday I hope she goes to get it looked at because I think she needs one of those CPAP machines or whatever. But I have to wear earplugs at night for me to sleep. It's that bad. It's really bad. So that is my major annoyance in the house right now. There's a pet peeve of mine. It's illustrated by the following. So, we might buy things at the supermarket. So, I'll use the example of we'll buy like a case of beer from the beer distributor and it comes in these cardboard boxes and we bring them into the house and we set them where we store all that stuff, where we have food stores. And, from time to time, we'll open up one of those boxes and we'll take a few cans out and we'll throw it in the refrigerator and they'll be cold and ready to drink when either us or somebody like my father comes over and we want to serve him a drink. And sometimes I'll walk over to that box and it's empty, sitting on the floor in the storage area. It's like, wait, you pulled the last beer out of here, but you did not pick up the box, break it down, and put it in the recycling. That pisses me off to no end. So that's a good example of something that
I
really...
hear you there.
Yeah.
On both those things.
Yeah. So
You ever see the people take the dishes out of the dishwasher one at a time and just dry and use them and never just take them all out at once, dry them, and put them all up?
Well, I have a son that is one of his responsibilities around the house is he's got to empty the dishwasher. So he does it. He's a good boy and he does it. So.
We didn't have a dishwasher growing up. I think I mentioned this one time. And for the longest time, I would just wash dishes because I was embarrassed for Vienna to find out I didn't know how a dishwasher worked. But get Melissa the CPAP. Vienna used to snore really loudly. For me, it was fine because, I used to fall asleep at concerts. So it was like having an electric guitar. It was like having a pedal board.
I've roomed with you on tour. The TV is like at top volume and you're like,
I have to have white noise, so I was fine. But she has a CPAP and when she first got it, she was sleeping like 16 hours a day because she was catching up. She was waking up. They gave her a sleep test and she would wake up like every 60 seconds. So she was just waking up all night long.
What does it do? I don't understand what it does.
What it does is it applies pressure to your air passages and it keeps them open so that you breathe normally.
Is it a motor or something?
What's that?
Yeah, there's a little motor unit. There's a big hose, and then there's like Frank Booth in Blue Velvet. Mommy, baby wants to
Heineken. Fuck.
Heineken. this went off the rails. Somebody's
All right,
watching, like,
I'm
you know
done.
what my pet peeve is? The fact these guys can't stick to the script. Okay. All right. So, what isn't my pet peeve? Would be the first question. I spend 3/4 of my waking hours explaining very simple concepts to people. That's pretty much my job. So here we go. The first one on my list: people who answer an either/or question with "yeah." Do you want to go to the grocery store or the drugstore first? Yeah. You get neither. Okay. My big pet peeve for a while, and it's dying away, but it really bugged me, was that let people enjoy things movement. You know, the little meme where the guy would say, sports ball, you go, shh, let people enjoy things. Some things just plain suck. My job is to point that out. When you say, let people enjoy, you're getting between me and my job. You're getting between God's plan for me, all right, and God's plan for me. But the thing is, and you say it, and people go, hey, everybody's got a right to an opinion. Yeah, I know. I just expressed one. But apparently, if your opinion is that sucks, you don't get a right to it. These people don't see the hypocrisy in it. If they did, their heads would explode. Psychics are on my list, despite my psychic teens.
It's not like there's tasteful racism or anything.
What?
It's not like there's tasteful racism. You know?
No, yeah, you're right. You know, like, nobody says, you know, there's certain things you're not going to be allowed to enjoy. All right. Oh, speaking of that, this is a big one on my list. It's usually old white guy, the guy who just, that darn political correctness is ruining everything. Hey, I'm sorry if you got called out for being like a racist, sexist, homophobe. What do I do about it? Like, I can't even watch the Dukes of Hazzard anymore. They had a symbol of hate on a car called General Lee. Right? If it was the Dukes of Hamburg and they painted a swastika on General Rommel, they probably wouldn't have a problem with that either. So that's a big one. Anybody who's ever taken up 10 minutes of precious NPR time telling us about how they believe in the goodness of grandma's chocolate chip cookie recipe, that's what you had to tell us. Meanwhile, you know, grandma's in the other room, like listening to Rush Limbaugh and like shouting about political correctness. You're not, whatever you did to grandma, you're not making up for it with the freaking cookie recipe. Podcast. Yeah, podcast where the hosts have no idea what the hell they're talking about. I listened to a history. I stopped listening to it when this happened. A history podcast, right? Someone supposedly had a doctorate in history, and they didn't know who Marilyn Monroe was. They're like, I think she was like a singer. Maybe she was Spiro Agnew's vice president. I turned it off immediately. That and podcasts, you're only tangentially about what they're about. It's like, it's the Beer and Murder podcast, and it's 20 minutes about murder, and it's like, this Jack the Ripper guy, he killed some people? Yeah, I think it was in England. Morons. Old people bother me. Young people bother me.
We only have 40 minutes.
I'm moving quickly. Just a couple more. I hate poptimism. Everything is not artistically equal. Okay, Dane Cook is not Lenny Bruce. All right, Thomas Kincaid, the painter of light, he sure as shitting is not Picasso. All right, so something's, and I'll just give you one last one. The last one, people say, well, I don't have time in my life for all that anger. Don't sell yourself short. You can make the time. All right, thank you. That was very cathartic. I enjoyed that.
All right.
Well.
I bet I covered
my biggest pet peeve, and this has been for decades now, is music that gets played in supermarkets, department stores, drugstores. I just can't stand. I can't stand going into a store and hearing the pop music that
It's an
is
assault.
now on the sound systems, and it seems to be getting louder and louder to me. When I was a kid and when I was a teenager, the only music that was played in stores was instrumental music, and it was often called Muzak, and
Yeah,
that
there was
was
a company called Muzak.
trademark thing. I looked into it. There was a company, but they changed their name, or they got bought out by another company. There is no more Muzak as we knew it. And Muzak was okay to me. I thought it was actually kind of funny. It was innocuous. It didn't bother my sensibility. I could shop, peacefully and not be disturbed. But now I hear pop songs that I don't even know what they are, but I'm pretty sure their contemporary songs are there. There's also 80s songs that I never really liked that much when I heard them to begin with. Get played a lot. There's a lot of Phil Collins, and I just find it jarring, and I don't want to hear it. It like makes me want to get out of the store as soon as possible. Hurry up and get my stuff and get out of there. And you'd think that the store want you to do the opposite and just do as much shopping as you can. And a couple of days ago, I looked online, and actually, there are Muzak became a company that promotes this music, mostly popular music that's all happy and cheerful. But I guess it works. Personally, I think it would be better if ambient music, and there's plenty of ambient music out there, were played in these situations. That would be a lot less stressful.
I have two anecdotes for you, Joe. One
Okay.
is, I think it was Melissa. I don't. Well, I've been to the Acme here in Philadelphia, and I've heard the Ramones over the stereo or over the PA, so I'm okay with that.
Well, that's a rarity, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Melissa told me this story. She was in a Wendy's once, and she heard Blondie on the PA system, and she just got an amusing chuckle out of Debbie Harry's. Happy birthday to Debbie Harry, by the way. I think it was yesterday. Singing, soon turned out to be a pain in the ass in the middle while she was buying a Wendy's burger or something, And the other anecdote I have for you is that I went to a store once and I was buying some clothes and I was in the checkout line, and I think some of these places have maybe they're not paying their royalties the way they should, but I think some of them use like Spotify streams or whatever to broadcast in their stores. But as I'm checking out, a song came on the music in the store, and it starts to like get into my ear, and I was like, what is that? I know that song. And then I heard your voice. It was like, It was Punk Rock Girl.
Well, people have told me that. I haven't heard it myself.
Yeah,
But
it was in an Old Navy store. That was about I don't know, that was over 7 years ago.
Yeah, that was probably true. I would rather, for some reason, music that has lyrics distracts me, and I can't pay attention to what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'd rather just have instrumental music or ambient music would be best. So that's my pet peeve. Thanks.
Okay.
Or at least they could be like salad dressing, aisle 8, like really low. So if you could like tune in. And
attention, Kmart shoppers.
You could whisper into a thing, where's the salad dressing? And in the music, it'll be like aisle 8.
Just a reminder, Sleepaway Camp 2 is showing on Shudder and Tubi, so tune in and hear the Dead Milkmen on the soundtrack.
Awesome.
You'll plug anything.
It is a terrible. I'm really proud to be associated with that movie. If only they had asked us first.
Devo made an album of Muzak versions of their songs. I can't remember what it's called. I think they did that in the 90s.
Before Amazon bought out Whole Foods, the music in there used to be incredible. It was all like post-punk and Motown, and it was fantastic. It made it really, it was a fun shopping experience.
I borrowed this from the church. They were going to use it to broadcast outside for people in their cars and in a big grassy lot. And I said, I could help you set up speakers in the area so people could gather outside. So anyway, I convinced them to buy this.
That's cool.
Because I wanted to play with it. Is
that your recommendation for this week?
No. I mean,
notice how I segued into that?
I actually have two recommendations. So this, but this is, it just basically broadcasts on any channel that doesn't have anything already broadcasting on it.
Does that like at a drive-in movie when you're
in the town I work in Newtown? I was thinking if music that I've recorded, I could broadcast it on one of these channels, and just see if anybody ever. And then I could always leave my phone number or something. Maybe I don't want to do that.
No, probably not.
Some kind of way to contact me to see if it's actually getting out to anybody. I just went off on a tangent, but
okay.
Another recommendation is. My son was recommending green, orange, and yellow Mike Ikes with 2 brown Skittles and what was the other thing? A blue Sour Patch Kid, and in a handful.
Mm.
That's Charlie's recommendation.
So those are
You're doing a guest recommendation.
those are candies.
Yeah, candy. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike and Ike.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I don't even want to say the names of those things. Can
Yeah,
you edit that out?
But you have to.
No, they need to pay me.
Here's a
But
fun.
how are we
actually
going to
want
be
their
able
money.
to try the recipe if we don't know what they are?
They can at least supply me with some candy.
I have a fun fact about Mike and Ike's. The Mike is Mike Pence. So yeah, him and Ike. Yeah, we suspected. We knew. We knew all along.
Ike Turner?
It's Mike Pence,
Pence and
Mike Turner.
I have a very small recommendation. This is it's like a Leatherman. It is a branded Leatherman tool. It is, in fact, the 831206 style CS keychain multi-tool.
Does that clip on your
It
belt?
is very small. I carry this around in my pocket, and I use it multiple times a day. It has, let's see, I'll show you. It has scissors, right? It has a blade, right? It has tweezers.
Nice.
It has, what else does it have? It has a screwdriver tip that works on both straight and Phillips head. It also has a small, you probably can't see it here, it has a small file here that you can file things down. And it has, what else does it have? It has a clip that you can clip onto your key ring, or it also works as a bottle opener. And I find it invaluable. I recommend it highly.
It is a solid
It's
item.
small enough to fit in your pocket and not take up too much room.
Normally, I recommend a band and a thing, but this week I'm going to recommend a person and a thing. Oh, Dan's armed. Yeah, that's not a knife. This is a knife. My person is my friend Larry West. Larry is always right there on the front line in all the pro-democracy, pro-human rights protests, and we've been in some scary situations. He's been in some scary situations, and he's never flinched. He's just an all-around great guy. He tends to be very quiet. He tends to he's very modest. And if you can, we'll have some links to. We'll get to his stuff in a minute. But if you find him on social media, become his friend too, because he's a super nice guy. Has a great look. Has a mohawk. And you know that awful band Trap that says stupid things on social media? They said, well, I'll send. If you don't know, you're late to the party. But they basically said to him, he said something like, "You hate white people." I'm like, wait a minute. I'm white and he's my friend. So Trap don't know what they're talking about. But Larry also does art. He does these awesome, I don't know if you can see this. This is a Philadelphia shirt done in a death metal style. We'll have the link to Larry's stuff. He does these Black Lives Matters. These are in shirts too, done in death metal style. Die, hipster scum. Something I can get behind. My love of mumblecore. I don't even know what this is. I don't know what it means or what it is, but I love it. So yeah, please seek out my wonderful friend Larry. And again, a great fighter for human rights and a very brave person. And my thing this week, it's a classic. It's a game changer. It's the Beatstep Pro. Or as a friend of mine once put it, if I go to somebody's studio and they don't have one of these somewhere, I make an appointment to come back the next day and I burn the place down. So yeah, the Beatstep Pro, Dean actually had recommended the Beatstep Pro to me. I was like, how did I not think of that? You'll find them everywhere. They're like the heart of every movement. It's a sequencer, folks, that basically you've got the drums down here. It's all monophonic. So I usually use this for what I call the Ormsby, which is my FM synth, and then this will power my bass. But it's everywhere with pretty much everything I do. So the Beatstep Pro. All right, that's my recommendation.
I recommend taking a walk. It's relaxing. You can collect your thoughts while you're walking. Only on a nice day, though, not when it's too windy. And for an album, I recommend Wire Mind Hive. I think it's their latest full length. And I just like that band. They've been around for a while. They took a long break, or a little break, I guess. They're originally from the 70s, and I guess in the 80s they took a break, then they got back in the mid 80s, and they've been going strong ever since. They're from England, and no other reason except I find it quite enjoyable to listen to.
We covered one of their early songs, didn't we?
We did.
Ex-Lion Tamer?
We covered it twice
This
because
is-
we also took a break, and we were like, "No, it's a Wire cover." It's
Ex-Lion Tamer.
I love the chairs missing.
That's right. I totally had forgotten about that, but that's
very
true. But this is this is Wire 2019. Same band as far as I know.
Same members?
I'm not completely sure. I guess I should do some research on that. But Colin Newman is in it for sure.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Dean, you want to tell everybody what's happening next week, or are we going to save it for a surprise?
I can tell everybody. So my challenge is next week. And a couple weeks ago, I challenged everybody in the band. They had to do a Dead Milkmen cover. So Rodney challenged me to cover